Marvin. When you get my age, you don't tell all the whole.
21, right?
But I've gone through grace recovery, and I've gone through life recovery, and yeah, a lot of recovery on my own. I'm with Daryl.
Awesome. Glad you guys are here. And for those who don't know him, that's the executive director in the back there. That's Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Yeah. Executive director and founder of Recovery Cafe in Elker County, and just pleased to host Daryl here tonight.
The 73rd.
Nice. All right, welcome guys. Glad you guys are here. And this is your first time here. Just real quick. This is the name of this workshop. It's called Motivation Through Recovery. The whole reason why we put these workshops together is for one reason only: to get people who are in recovery to understand their why and purpose in recovery as they achieve their long-term recovery. Okay, because I know there's a lot of people who like to go ahead and they like to help out the person that's the addict, that's struggling, things of that nature. And I'm a firm believer in that. But what I'm also a firm believer is that seeing people walk out their recovery journey to their full potential. I think too many people miss out on their long-term recovery opportunities because they can't find out what's next. Okay, they're always asking the question, now what, instead of asking the question, what's next. So we want to show people how to get to the point of getting what's next in their recovery, because there's another level to recovery. But before I get all into that, because I'm about to see myself Gary go down a tangent and a rabbit trail, so I like to start off every class the same way. So if you guys would indulge me, what we do is we do a little mantra here. So if you repeat after me, this would be great. I guarantee you'll be safe when we're done. All right? Okay. So repeat after me, please. I am somebody. I am somebody. No matter what the courts say, no matter what my family says, no matter what my significant other may say, I am somebody. I matter to me because I matter to God. Come on, give yourselves a hand, folks. You deserve it. Turn to your neighbor and say, you matter. Always important to realize that you do matter. We do that because we want you to understand that we know, or I know for sure, that where you come from, because I came from the same place. You know, some of us come out of institutions, some of us come out of jail, some of us come out of a prison, some of us come where we've been shunned by our families because of our addiction. Some of us come out where we lost loved ones, we lost significant others. Maybe the court system has told us that we will never be more than what we are, so to speak. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter what everybody else says about you. It matters what you say about you. That's why I always say the fact that you are somebody and you do matter, because you do. Every day you matter. Every day when you wake up and you got breath in your body, man, you got a shot at this thing called recovery. And nobody should tell you anything different. I don't care what their opinions are. Okay, let your opinions, people, be opinions. Okay, I got a motto that I live by. When it comes to my haters, I let my haters be my motivators. I let them be the one that propels me to go to the next level of my life so I can build the better life for the rest of my life. And that's where you want to be too. When you start getting to that place where you start realizing that there's more to life to have than just trying to be sober, just trying to make it, just trying to barely get it by, you start getting your life to a brand new level that begins to bring change in your life. And when that change kicks in and you start realizing the value and who you are in your recovery, it not only makes a difference in your life, but it makes a difference in other people's lives too. So that's why I always start this off with saying that you are somebody, you do matter. Because see, sometimes you can have people that make you feel like you don't matter. You can have people that tell you at work that you don't matter. You can have friends that may tell you don't matter. You may have traffic that tells you don't matter. Okay. So whatever the case may be, you always want to understand that you do matter. You are somebody and you do matter. So I always want to leave that with you. So turn to your neighbor one last time and say, you matter. All right. If I was to say to you, if you've ever heard the term soul ties, has anybody ever heard that before? Soul ties. You heard that term before? Okay, a couple of you. All right. If I was to ask this question, based on you hearing that term, what does that term mean to you? What would you say?
I'd say an ungodly covenant between two more people, place or thing.
Okay.
I think of soul, I think of black. And I heard the sounds of black at Church of the Open Door. So that was fine.
I was at a Teen Challenge meeting and they were discussing what the term soul means. And they said in Hebrew it means of the flesh.
Hmm.
And so when you hear people say soulmate, it's really, of the flesh mate and like wanting, like I want.
Mm-hmm.
And soul is different than the spirit. And that's about all I remember.
Okay.
So that has stuck with me when people talk about their soul. I mean, it's, to me, I'm thinking it's of the earth, or,
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of sounds like soul ties that are holding you back, then that must not like degrade you. Maybe it is.
Okay.
Maybe it is.
Could be. Who knows?
Who knows?
Let's find out.
I think of eternal.
Okay.
Forever. Soul lives on forever. Wherever you go. I'm looking for heaven.
Mm.
But I believe in heaven and hell.
Yeah. Okay.
Soul's gonna go one way or the other. That's mine.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. So when you think about soul ties, you think about an intense. One of the definitions for it is an intense relationship with someone. Is a soul tie. So when you think about that being an intense relationship with somebody, what will be an unhealthy soul tie?
Toxic relationship.
A toxic relationship. Ooh, okay. Anybody else? Codependency. Ooh, man, you guys are advanced class. Y'all beyond my comprehension. Okay. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So if we look at something called unhealthy soul ties and what that actually looks like, it actually, when you ask the question, what are unhealthy soul ties? It's actually this. Unhealthy soul tie is an intense, all-encompassing connection between you and another person that's toxic in nature. That's toxic in nature. So when you think about unhealthy soul tie, man, you see that definition, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Maybe some of those old relationships we used to have when we were out there in our youth, right? Maybe now that we're no longer in our youth, maybe it could be current relationships that we have. Because a lot of times what we realize is that when we go through this journey of recovery, the addiction piece is something that can go away faster than the actual other things that we deal with. Okay, when you start talking about soul ties, you start talking about things like, for example, I was at a meeting years ago when I was a speaker meeting, and it was me and this other girl and this other guy. We had to get up and speak, and the girl that got up and spoke before me talked about the unhealthy characteristics she had that she was still dealing with. She said, "I got 4.5 years of recovery under my belt." She said, "I love being in recovery. I love helping other people get recovery. I love helping other people get the treatment." She said, "But there's still some things that I'm dealing with that I had no idea would be part of the things that would still be a part of my life." She said, "I still find myself lying every now and then, cheating, stealing, and what have you, and having these unhealthy things that are in my life that I realize that are actually bigger than my addiction." And sometimes when we look at those things can be huge and can take a longer process to address than the actual addiction itself. And the reason why that is that a lot of times when we start looking to try to get some things right in our life and correct in our life, when we put ourselves in a position that when we try to fix it, but then we fail at it, first thing we want to admit is defeat. And when we admit defeat, it's like, shoot, if I can't get this right, I might as well go on back to drinking. I might as well go on back to shooting up. I might as well go on back to do this or doing that. Anything that's going to actually hurt me in that process. So we got to look at the fact that when it comes to these unhealthy soul ties, how can we break the chain of these unhealthy soul ties, because they're not supposed to be in our lives. They can draw us back into our addiction if we don't careful, if we don't recognize them. Okay. So remember, they're toxic in nature. So what can it be? It can also be one-sided. When you're talking about with another person, it could be one-sided. How many of you have either experienced being in a relationship or not just being in the relationship, but actually being in a relationship where you're the person that does all the loving, the caring and everything else, but the other person has no emotional ties. Okay? They don't have the same intensity for you like you have for them. And it could be all one-sided. And you feel like you're the one that's giving all the time. And because you're the one that's giving all the time, it's always draining you. And because it's always draining you, it's putting into you in a position where you feel like you're the one that's not in control anymore. Has anybody ever been there before? Okay. Yeah, so it could be one-sided. It also could be one-sided so tight it makes the reality really easy for the other person to take advantage of you. The other person to manipulate you. Think about that for a minute. You probably can remember situations where you were manipulated, right? But you probably can also think about other situations where you were the manipulator. Okay, I tell people all the time when I serve. I also work at Minnesota Adult and Teen Challenge, and I tell people all the time. I said, it's amazing how just because the county or the state or whoever insurance companies pay for us to be in treatment, that gives them the right to label us as vulnerable adults. Only thing I ever remember about anybody being vulnerable is the victims I hurt. I wasn't the vulnerable one. I knew exactly what I was doing because I knew what I was trying to get. So I wasn't the vulnerable one. So I'm like, man, y'all, I don't know what y'all talking about, man. Y'all should put that label on them, not me. But we get those labels like that because we feel like that we're victim of the whole entire deal. A lot of times we're the one that we're doing the victiming or victimizing or however they pronounce that. So we want to get to a point where we look at it and we understand is that people can take advantage of you in the process, or maybe you even taking advantage of other people when it comes to soul ties. Somebody was so attracted to you, so much into you, but you used that to manipulate them to get them to do what you want them to do. Okay? Unhealthy soul tie can also be a hack your recovery with someone when in connection with you, or like I said, be able to manipulate you in the process. Okay, how do they do that? They can do that emotionally. How many people can relate to emotional manipulation? You know, if you got young kids, you're probably real familiar with it. Sometimes because young kids can be very emotionally manipulated. Mommy, can I have this? Daddy, can I have this? You said if I did this. You said I did that. Well, sometimes we take the childlike mentality into our adult lifestyle. You said you was going to do this. You did. How come I can't? So what you saying is I can't do this, huh? And then try to make you think differently about the situation where you just, and you give in. Now, we've probably been on both sides of that coin. We probably were the ones that were manipulating people like that. And also at the same time, we also had other people manipulate us like that. Okay. So you can be manipulated emotionally. How about this one? Physically. Threatening to cause harm to somebody. Threatening to hurt somebody. Threatening to put yourself in a position where if you feel like if you don't do this, something bad is going to happen to you. This person has made you believe that and made you buy into that. That's where abuse can come from. So you get physically manipulated, or the physical point where they try to convince you not to leave, or maybe don't let you leave. If you've ever been in those situations before. How about this one? Spiritually manipulated. A lot of people say, well, what do you mean spiritual? How can anybody spiritually manipulate you? Oh yeah, some of these folks are probably. I'm looking at some of these gray hairs in here. I'm like, y'all got to be around the same age as me. So some of y'all remember the great Jim Jones, right? I see a couple of head shakes. Yeah. Okay. Or what about the last one I can think of is that Wacko and Waco. What's his name? Whatever his name was. David Koresh. Okay. People who manipulated you to believe that they were the Messiah.
Yeah.
People that manipulated you to believe that if we all did this one thing together, we will see the glory of God. People that manipulate you to believe that if you drink this Kool-Aid, we'll all be set free. Well, that part was true. The only thing is, he didn't tell them that death was involved in it too. So you can be spiritually manipulated. You can be at a point where even sometimes, hate to say it, but sometimes in some local churches, you can be spiritually manipulated, make you feel a certain type of way. So that's why you got to be careful with that. Maybe even somebody who mentors you or comes alongside you and tells you about certain things. Whether it's when the word, some people can take the word and manipulate it, take the word of God and manipulate it. I think that's one of the reasons why it says in the book of for 2 Timothy, I think it is, study thyself to show thyself approved of God. Okay, not to be approved of man. So when you understand that you need to be able to learn for yourself and just not take other people's word on it, it's different. One of the biggest manipulations we got right now is when you look at both sides of the political aisle. There's a lot of manipulation going on both sides, not just one side, on both sides. And if you understand that, you will take time out to investigate some things because there's a lot of half-truth out there. And like my grandmama always told me, if it's a half-truth, it's a whole lie. So we got to look at those kind of things and see how it comes there. How about these when it comes to unhealthy talk? How about unhealthy people? What about unhealthy people? Think about the unhealthy people we've been in our lives. Think about how we may have been the unhealthy one in someone else's life. Having unhealthy people, that could be a soul tie. You know, I can't remember the number of people that I've actually personally counseled that have told me things like, well, I want to get out of this. I want to get away from this relationship. I want to be done with this, but I just love him. Or I just love her. I know they treat me like this. I know they take advantage of me. I know they sleep with somebody else, but I just, you don't understand how I feel about them. And somebody said it earlier about manipulation, about having that, about the relationship. I can't remember what you said earlier, but it goes right along that very thing. Understanding how you can be manipulated with an unhealthy person. That's the one thing when you're in recovery, you got to be very careful of, because you're both healing and you don't heal at the same timetable. So you could be trying, you meet this person who's great, who's nice, you think they're wonderful. And all of a sudden, 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, like, Jesus, man, who is this devil? But the thing is, it wasn't a surprise. It's been there the whole time. You just didn't recognize it, and you didn't realize it because you had the butterflies going. So that's why you need to understand and know is that unhealthy people, you got to be very careful of that when you're stepping into a new life of recovery. Your new life of recovery requires you to start investigating some things and seeing if it's good for you. You want people that's going in the same direction, but you also want people that's going on the same level as your direction as well, too. What about unhealthy circumstances? This is actually somebody I knew. Unhealthy circumstances with somebody. You're living like, things I know out of order, displaced, messed up, trashed, and all that becomes very unhealthy. And it's amazing. You may look at something like that and say, man, how can anybody in their right mind be caught in something like that? But yet, if you really look at and show it all the way through, what you'll find is that it was something that just happened over time. It didn't happen overnight. They just didn't show up like this. It got to a place where they slowly but surely started just not caring anymore and just started existing. And it leads to unhealthy circumstances. You know, we see people like that all the time. I just had a guy speaking in a meeting I do over in St. Paul. I had him speaking or to a group of guys, and he was telling us about how before he came into recovery, you know, he's a veteran and what have you. But you know, he got put out of his house. So what he did is that he barricaded himself in his garage. And he would, instead of taking the trash out, he would take the trash, bag it up, tie it up, and just stack it all around where he was living at. He said, then finally, when they came in, they had no idea he was in there. So they actually finally came to the door. And when they came to the door, he comes out looking like this, you know, like this wild demoniac. He had like no pants on, and he's got a terror shirt, and he's all, no, don't take my house, you know. He said, man, I was a mess. He said, I had to get myself some help right away. He said, but it didn't happen overnight. It was just time after time. Over time, I just finally gave up and just finally let go. Okay? Unhealthy places and things in what we do, where we're around, what our environment's all about. What are those unhealthy things? What are the unhealthy things that we're around? What are the unhealthy things that right now, as we're looking and we're working in our recovery, we're doing good, we're walking out. But what are some of the unhealthy things that maybe other people don't know about that you're dealing with? What are some of the things that maybe God himself has told you, you need to take care of this, but you ain't done it yet? See, always know that you will always, no matter how long you are in recovery, you will always have something that you're working on. Always. Once you got something fixed, there'll be something new that jumps up for you to take care of. And then once you got that fixed, there'll be something new. And then sometimes some of the things you thought you had fixed come back to haunt you, and you got to turn right around and fix that again. So that's why we have to understand, man, when we start looking at unhealthy places, unhealthy things, man, we got to just take time out to realize that it's us constantly at work in progress. Okay? That's why we are walking out our recovery journey. We haven't arrived yet. You may have 2 years, 5 years, 2 months, 20 years under your belt. But you're always working on you. You can't fix anybody else. The only person you can always fix is yourself. So you're constantly working on you in the process. So when it comes to these unhealthy soul ties, how do we solve them? How do we fix them? How do we go about making the change when it comes to this? Because I've been working on my recovery. I'm not using it anymore, but with these old thoughts that keep coming up and these old situations that keep coming up or these old things I keep running into, how do I deal with this? How do I deal with these things that always try to keep drawing me back into this very thing I'm trying to get away from? What do I do? There's something I've got to do because it seems like sometimes there's no end in sight. But I know that going back and using it is not the right thing to do. So what is it that I have to do? Well, I have to make some changes. There's some things I have to do, okay? The first thing I need to do is I need to be honest with myself. Okay, this thing is costing me. This thing is hurting me. I need to be honest about that. I need to be honest how I feel. I need to be honest about what I'm dealing with. And I need to be honest about it because this is going to help me start the process of healing when it comes to my life of recovery. I got to be honest. Okay? We've all heard the term that recovery is an honesty program, right? So we got to be honest. We got to be honest with ourselves first. What is it that we need to be honest about? And we need to get real about it. Whether you want to get real with another person or just have that conversation with yourself, but whatever it is, you got to be real. You got to be authentic and be honest about it. It's always good to talk to somebody else that you trust, but if you're going to do that, be honest about it and make sure that they are able to handle what you're able to share with them. It's kind of like that step 5, okay? Be honest about the whole entire deal, right? So The other thing you want to do is once you're honest about it, take time out. If a person is involved in this, take time out, man, and look at some of those things that you're still holding on to from this person. Okay? Whether it's old photos, whether it's old things they've gotten you or you've gotten out of the relationship, take a look at some of those things. Some of that stuff could be the very thing that's holding you back. Some of those things could be the very thing that's keeping you from moving forward. And you need to get them out of your life. And you even know you need to get them out of your life. I was just talking with a guy last week, and we were talking about this subject. And he said, I finally got to a point in my life where I realized that I needed to get rid of these old pictures I got of this girl. They broke up 3 years ago. And he still got pictures on his phone. And I said, why you got pictures on the phone? He said, no, I just want to try to remember the better days. I said, but what does that do to you? He said, well, it makes me think about a lot. I said, well, where is she now? Well, she's married. Dude, guess what? That dog ain't gonna hunt. It's time for you to let it go. So he said, I finally realized that I need to let this thing go because I can't move on. And I'm trying to measure every relationship based on the relationship we had. And I said, you can't do that. Every person is different. And if it was that good, it wouldn't have lasted. So maybe, just maybe, you need to let that go and start asking some questions about who you are and the value you're going to let somebody bring into your life. Because that's really what it's all about. When you know who you are, you don't just let anybody come into your life. When you consider yourself valuable and you're worthy, you're just not going to let anybody, just because they think you cute, come into your life. What are you bringing to the table? I know what I've got. What do you got? It's not monetarily. We're talking about where are we going together? How can we grow together? How can we build each other up? That's when you start moving into a whole different area. So some of that old stuff, man, you need to get rid of it. Whether you throw it away, whether you donate it, if it's clothing, okay, get rid of it. Stop holding on to that stuff. Let it go. Like that girl from Frozen. Let it go. Let it go. Let that thing go, man. All right? Turn it loose. Okay? What about this? Any pictures, all signs of that previous person that was in your life, delete them. Delete them. If you got hard copies, get rid of them. Throw them away. Delete them. If this causing you pain, if it's causing you sorrow, get rid of it. Listen, you know, I'm wonderfully, happily, and beautifully married now. Love the woman that God has blessed me with. But once upon a time, I was married to somebody that wasn't as wonderful. She's a great woman, and I was at a different place in my life too, so I wasn't that great for her either. I'll be honest. But when things ended, which I didn't want, I held on to that for about a little over 2, maybe 3 years. But I had to get to a place where I had to say, you know what? The wedding photos, all the stuff, it's got to go. It's got to go. And it had to go because I wasn't moving forward. It was controlling my life. I would come home from work every night, feeling sad, feeling blue, putting on some Lionel Richie. Hello? Is it me you're searching for? And I sit there in my glad rags and, you know, thinking about the bottle of Jack Daniels I wanted to drink, you know, feeling sad for myself, feeling sorry for myself because I failed. In marriage, I failed at this and this person walked out of my life and all this other stuff, right? But I had to get to a place and realize something. You can't control what another person does. You can only control what you do. So I started on this long journey, a long journey of identification of myself, finding out who I was, finding out what I really wanted out of life, finding out what God really had planned for me. And it was a 12-year journey before I found the woman I've been with now for the last 15 years. But it took me 12 years to get there. And people say, well, how did you do that, man? How did you go 12 years like that? You know, because I had friends that literally got divorced around the same time I did, that remarried within 2 years, 3 years, 6 months. That didn't last that long. One even led to an open marriage. What the is that? But they said, man, how did you went 12 years? How did you do that? Real simple. I wanted to know who I was. I stopped asking for someone to come into my life, and I started praying to be made to the person I need to be for her. Once I got to that place, then I started developing who I needed to be. And that's what began to change things. So when we talk about our recovery and we talk about getting these things out of our life and things we need to get rid of and deleting those kind of things, we need to go ahead and get rid of those things. And don't second guess yourself. Get rid of them. Okay? Take control of the fact and let it out of your life. Okay? Block and delete numbers. That's another one. A lot of people hold on to numbers. I know people that go and get a new phone but put all the old phone numbers back in them. Okay? Why are you getting new numbers, or why are you getting new phone and you put the dope man's number back in it? Okay? You want to tell them that you changed? No. No. Okay? No need. Trust me. It's like we were talking about last week when people said, well, I want to check on some of my old using buddies. I'm like, you ain't never got to check on your old using buddies. Never. Here's why. If they are walking out their recovery like you walking out yours, you will eventually run into them somewhere doing the right thing. Maybe it's at an Elevation Worship concert. Maybe it's at a meeting. Maybe it's at an outdoor activity where other people in recovery are. But trust me, you'll run into them. You'll never have to worry about what your old using buddies are doing. You never have to worry about it. Because trust me, if you ain't seen them in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, chances are they still use it. You ain't got to chase them down. But see, what you need to understand is that you need to maintain what you have, walk out your recovery, because there may be a day when they finally come to you and say, you know what, I've been watching you for the last 10 years, man. How are you doing this? I want to know how to get what you got. In the beginning, they be, man, go on about your business, man. I don't want to have nothing to do with that. Don't be the guy that tries to sell salvation at a bar. Don't be that guy. Okay? I'm going to go down here and tell them what God did for me and this, that, and the other, man, and how I'm totally clean and I ain't had a drink now in 2 days and I'm ready to rock and roll. You can do, man, you already know where that's going, don't you? So you want to delete and block those numbers. Get them out of your life. Get away from temptation, okay? Another thing you could do what's called visualization of how you get something out of your life, okay? You could choose 2 objects. One can be you, one can be the other person. Or maybe it's something that symbolizes something out of that relationship. So you could take 2 objects. And what you can do is you can tie them together. Okay? Tie them together with a piece of string, just like this. Right? They represent the thing that you want out of your life. Maybe you get to a point where you'll say a couple of creative words over them, right? You'll say some things about them. You know, this person will no longer have control in my life like this. At this point in time in my life, I have now released you. I've now released you out of my life. And then the next thing you do, can you hold that in for me? Thank you. And the next thing you do after you, man, the thing's a long way. The next thing you want to do is that once you've made that declaration that this person is no longer going to be in your life, you get the scissors and cut it. And you say, well, what does that do? Let me tell you exactly what it does. The next time you run into that person, you'll remember this. And you remember they no longer have control in your life. They no longer can manipulate you in your life. They no longer have that kind of access to your life anymore. It's to serve as a visualization, the fact that you have cut the ties, that you have broken the chain. You could do that with your addiction. You could do that with maybe you grew up in a household where you were abused. You can do that with situations that maybe some hurt that you've been experienced in a relationship or maybe in a job loss. You can cut the ties so that you can move on, so you can see it visually. So you can get yourself into a place where you can start seeing your life as being able to improve and be better, okay? Let the cutting of the symbol serve as a relationship between you and the other person that it is done. It is done. The next thing you want to do, you want to reach out to your higher power. Now, I'll be honest with you. My higher power is Jesus Christ. And here's what I'll tell you. When it comes to you getting to a place of getting healed, if you don't invite Christ into the mix, healing will be a grind. You need to make sure that you are inviting Christ in you, the hope of glory, into your life that can make a difference in your life for the rest of your life. So you have the opportunity to pray and pray to be released to that unhealthy soul tie. Pray to be released to that unhealthy soul tie. Okay? Daily prayer life can help you build strength and confidence. Help you gain confidence in who you are. Knowing who you are now compared to what you used to be. You're no longer what other people said about you. You are now what God says about you, what the creator of the universe has said about you, what your higher power says about you. It's amazing to me that even in AA and NA, that people will just confess the higher power. Okay, great. Well, let me ask you a question. How often do you talk to him? He's your higher power. How often do you invoke him in your decision-making process? How often do you get his opinions and his ideas on how you want to live your life? If you trust and believe in a higher power, do you ever involve him in what's going on? So when you pray, that's exactly what you do. You are operating and having somebody greater than you, that you acknowledge is greater than you, operate in your life. And that's why it's important to understand that daily prayer life can help you build and strengthen confidence. Because the more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay? For those of you who enjoy working out, okay, you can't say you're going to put on 20 pounds of muscle in the next 6 months, but you ain't touched the weight. It's like back in the day before I was where I was at now as far as my weight's concerned. I used to always run around talking about something I wanted to lose 25 pounds. But you can't lose 25 pounds and eat a bag of oils at the same time. It don't work. You know, every time you drive down the highway, you see the Krispy Kreme hot light sign on, you go driving the Krispy Kreme. I'm so glad they got rid of things. I don't know what to do. But they're coming back, I heard. Lord Jesus, help me. But you got to make the choice. You got to make a decision on what you're going to do as far as getting that piece together to step into the greatness of the recovery that's ahead of you. Ask God to give you the strength to overcome harmful soul ties and cast the pain and grant you the healing from it. To get rid of the pain and grant you the healing that you deserve. Okay? Because you deserve to be healed. A lot of times people won't get healed because they don't think they deserve it. They'll ask for it, but deep down inside, you don't think you believe it. You don't think it's for you. But you know what? It is for you. No matter what you've done. No matter what you've done. And that's the part where people get caught up at. It doesn't matter what you've done. It's got nothing to do with it. Okay? If you've done what you need to do, repented of it, whatever it is, and you've made that decision to change, you have the right to be healed. You have a right to have your mind, body, and spirit be aligned, to be in one. That right belongs to you. Someone paid a high cost to make sure you had that right. And that belongs to you. So don't stay stuck in misery and wallow in your self-pity and things of that nature, man. Expect to move on in life. You know, how does a person move from being an addict and then all of a sudden becoming a chemical dependency counselor? How does that happen? How does that happen, Gene? Work. There was a lot of things you had to let go. So it's the work you have to put in daily that can make a difference in your life for the rest of your life. The next thing you got to make sure you do, above all things, folks, is this. You got to forgive. You got to forgive. Listen, I understand there may have been things that happened to you. You don't understand where I came from. You don't understand what I've had to deal with. You know what? I don't. But you know what? I don't have to. Forgiveness is something that is necessary for your life. There's physical issues that happen when people don't forgive. There's studies that show that literally physical issues can happen to you when you don't forgive somebody. Depression, anxiety can set in when you operate in unforgiveness. I remember years ago when I went through my divorce, and I remember I went through a divorce care group, and there was 16 of us in this group, men and women. And we would all do a check-in. It was kind of similar to what we do in our recovery groups. And we would all do a check-in. And when we all did check-in, we talk about how we're feeling, what we're dealing with, what we're doing to try to change, how we feel, how to get things together, those kind of things. And all of a sudden, it got to this one dude, he was the same every single time. Let's call him Mark. And it was the same every time. This was a big dude. This dude was 6'3", 250 pounds. And this dude had his own tree farm way up north Minnesota. And every time when we got to him, it was like, Mark, how you doing? It would be the exact same script. I'd be doing a whole lot better if this woman hadn't left me. I swear to God, I would like to think about it. I swear I can't stand her. And he would go on and on and on and on and on, right? And he held on to that unforgiveness. I ran into him 15 years after that situation. I'm in downtown St. Paul. I'm walking into a hotel to go to a conference. And there he is coming my way. And I'm looking at him and he goes, Daryl? And I look and I go, Mark? I said, man, what's happened, man? How you doing? I kid you not. This guy was so hunched over, he was almost like 5'10", shriveled up. I said, Mark, how you doing, man? Is everything okay? And he said, I'd be doing a lot better if that woman had left me. I swear to God. 15 years later, holding on to the same unforgiveness. It'll eat you up. You got to let it go. People are people. If it's somebody that's hurt you, man, you got to let them go. Always remember, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. You have to let people go. We all make mistakes. We all make some stuff that either we don't want to talk about mistakes, or if people found out about it, we would still be in trouble. We all make mistakes like that. But here's the thing you need to realize. Regardless of when it happened to you gotta let it go. Okay? Once you do, you open up a path to full healing and the experience. If you don't forgive the other person, it'll still be a part of your soul ties that you'll be still clinging on to and have a hard time letting go of. I remember somebody telling me, said, the hardest thing I have to deal with is being able to trust people because of the way I grew up. And I still battle with that, being able to trust somebody. Okay? I just never settle with being able to trust someone. But the thing is, you have to get there. You have to let the person go so you can trust, because if you can't trust, you'll never be able to grow. So always remember, when it comes to breaking these soul ties, these unhealthy soul ties that can hack your recovery, that can hack your behavior when it comes to your recovery process, be honest that it exists. Be honest about it. Talk to somebody. Tell them about what's going on, how you feeling, how you holding on, right? Okay? Delete all signs from that person or people that's been in your life, that left that mess behind, that made you hurt, that made you go through what you went through. And do the same for the person that you even hurt. Visualize and symbolize the physical breaking of the soul tie. Say things over it, and then cut the tie. Cut the cord. Let it go. And be done with it. Let it serve as that symbol that you no longer hold that person in unforgiveness. And it makes no difference how they respond or how they act. The only thing that matters is that did you do what you need to do. That's all that will ever matter. Reach out for power. Reach out for help. Reach out to your higher power. Reach out to God. Talk to God. Tell him how you're feeling. Tell him what you're going through. Tell him some things that are happening in your life. It's not that he don't already know, but he needs you to say it so that you can realize it, so now healing can begin. Practice forgiveness. Practice forgiveness. And you have to practice forgiveness every day. You may have to practice forgiveness more than once on the same person. But you know what? That's okay. Because sometimes, there's sometimes, let me ask you, and let me make sure, maybe I'm the only one ever experienced it before. Has anybody forgiven anybody? And then all of a sudden, let's say, for example, you're driving down the road, and out of nowhere, that old thought comes up and you start getting angry all over again. Anybody experience that? Oh, so it's not just me. Okay? But you've already forgiven them. So why is it coming up? Because you need to let it go again. Because it's trying to convince you that it's still in your life. And so you need to let it go. You need to be done with it. Over the course of time, that'll change. But don't hesitate on letting it go each time. Because if you do, what'll happen is healing will come. If you don't, it'll continue to build up that resentment and anger. And the next time you see that person, hey man, how you doing? Let me tell you how I'm doing. You remember what you did to me 10 years ago? Dude, you said you forgave me for that. Well, what's going on? I thought we was okay. I thought we was good. And then you go, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. How the Timberwolves doing? You know, we got to practice unforgiveness. We got to do that every day. Okay. And like we start the same way, we end the same way you start. You are somebody and you do matter. Remember, a reason why we started that whole entire mantra was to get people to understand is that no matter where you are in your walk in your recovery, you understand that you are somebody and you do matter. That's why I always say it doesn't matter what the courts say. The courts may say you're public enemy number one. Who knows? Okay, it doesn't matter what your family said. If they cut you off, they wrote you off and said, you know what? I don't want you around anymore. I don't trust you. Doesn't matter if a loved one walked out of your life, if somebody you loved, if you were married to, whatever, walks out of your life. Doesn't matter. Okay? You can't change any of that. You can't change what other people make the decision to do. You can only change what you do. That's why you got to tell yourself that you are somebody and you do matter. Okay? So, real quick, what we do at the end of these workshops is all the same thing. Tell me or tell us what you got out of this, because here's what happens when you share. When you share, you invite somebody else to take in that information and get the healing that you got yourself. You give them the opportunity to learn and grow just like you're learning and growing. Everybody writes down different things. Maybe you picked up on the same thing. Don't know. But share with us. Somebody feel like sharing? Go ahead.
Sir.
Well, Phil, let's go here first and then we'll go back there. Go ahead.
I'm Duran. Yeah, I gotta cut ties with my most recent relationship that I've just been holding on to, and it's just unhealthy, and it's just not gonna work. Gotta cut it off completely. Otherwise, I keep getting drawn back in,
Hmm.
and then it's just not healthy. Yeah, gotta cut the ties for sure. This is just what I needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead.
You want to, you can go first. You were first, man.
Go ahead.
Oh, I got a few things and then I added a few too. I put Jesus saves through prayer, constant communication, and obedience. Ask for guidance, direction, and to be filled with the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Break the scaffolding that you built to get to the deadly sin of addiction.
I like it. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Phil.
I like the whole act of breaking off. I'm a very visual person.
Mhm.
So when you see that person, like, the feelings are gone. It's like a prophetic act. Like, I'm just cutting it up. It's done. It's done. You know, whatever. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm a believer in the Holy Spirit. I'm a believer in God. What you do in the physical, acts in the spiritual. What you do in the spirit, acts in the physical. So when you cut it off in the physical, I think it's broken off in the spirit. I've never thought about it that way. I'm doing that because I've said I've said a couple prayers, soul type prayers myself. But actions like like forgiveness, you might have to say it a couple more times, a couple more times, a couple more times, but actually seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
that is more detrimental than anything because you know it's broken off.
Mm.
Nothing holding you back. So I really like that example of the cut it off. That's
Awesome.
pretty cool.
Thank you. That's good. Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes you can't make that total cut. What if you have children with this person?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But you can still cut the cord,
Mm-hmm.
and you still might have to deal with them, but you just protect your peace the whole time, going, this is the father of my child.
That's
But
the
this
difference.
is not the person that I'm in love with.
Yep. That's the difference. Understanding the boundary.
Also, this is the father of my child. This is not the one that beat you to a pulp.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's just John.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Thank you, Gene. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sunglasses. You wear them certain times because they protect your eyes, and you take them off at certain times because you can see clearly. Well, my past is labeled this and this and this and this, but there were the people that went through it, and they did make a marriage, and we did have treats, homemade ice cream, churned the old way, not the automatic churner, and homemade fudge. And when you had that treat, you knew they went through it.
Thank you, John. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm just gonna say on forgiveness. It's something I'm always saying to other people, and I found myself last week saying to somebody, "I will never forgive you for this."
Mm.
And it hit me because it's been bugging me all week. But how I've been taught and how I believe in forgiveness is that it's not for them because they're not sitting around waiting, to get a chance to come and say they're sorry to you. They probably either don't know or don't care or don't think about it,
Mm-hmm.
and you're holding on to it, and so it's like they're getting away rent free up in here,
Yeah.
and they're just off playing. They don't care. So it's for us. It's not for them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of it that way, then it can be a selfish thing.
Yeah.
And it's easier to say it out loud and let it go. Yeah. I'm glad that you said that at the end there because, it's been weighing on me.
That's good.
Now I feel like I better say something. Well, not to them, but to them and for myself.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Somebody else have a hand up I missed?
You need an understanding heart from people and from the past relations and memories.
Mm-hmm. So is it safe to say somebody got something out of this tonight?
Absolutely.
Okay, just want to make sure. Sometimes I miss the mark, so I just want to make sure everybody got something out of it. So.
Like anybody's gonna say no.
I was gonna say, hey, you know what? At least there's treats back there. You know, go that route. All right, well, let's go ahead and close this thing out right. So repeat after me, please. I am somebody. I am somebody. No matter what the court say, no matter what my family says, no matter what my significant other may say, I am somebody. I'm matter to me because I'm matter to God. Come on, give yourselves a hand, folks. You deserve it. Turn to your neighbor and say, you matter. Thank you for your time. We'll see you next week.
One of the things I think about on my own all the time, I kind of still stay stuck there. I talk about staying stuck there for a couple of reasons, but step 5, making a fearless and taking inventory.
All right.
And you said something about that, taking inventory fearlessly, and then step. So I like that. I didn't get the reaction that I thought.
Pleasure meeting you. All right. See y'all next week.
Nice to meet you guys. I thought that when I went to people and asked them to give me and to allow me to figure myself,
Yeah.
and I didn't expect that from her, so I stayed there for a long time. Well, I haven't really left because it's